Game number 4 on the horizon. Are we going to see more Flame Horizons or not? I guess time will tell. There was almost one. There might have actually been one towards the end in the ADC department, but I think that Praedyth managed to farm his way back in. There was about a 90 CS difference for a little while there, and then I noticed that Praedyth was allowed to sort of just sit in the lanes, farm, eat up all those little red dots as you guys were putting it on the cast, and managed to at least close the gap. But again, Violet is just farming up a damn storm. And I guess the question is, leading up towards draft for Game 4, is are we going to see this Zaya and Rakan ban, or are they just going to let it fly?
You know, I feel like we have to see it. First of all, they've picked blue side, I believe, again. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. PGG picked blue.
True. Yep.
They on blue side, we've mentioned this a few times now, but just to really reiterate one last time, you get to target ban on blue side. I think it's free real estate to just get rid of that champion. Looking at the other bans that they've gone for, though, there's a Nocturne, there's a Jinx, and there's a Lilia. I guess the risk there is if you go for the Rakan ban, you're giving over the Jinx comp, and we have seen Jinx be massively successful for Peace yesterday when it's given to them. So maybe there is no winning situation with those bans. Maybe you just accept reality and try and pick a lane that can handle it better.
I really hope we do get to see some Nocturne. I hope that gets to slide through. I want to see what it's capable of, honestly, but that's just for me personally. For you guys, though, personally, if you want to check your personal progress, you can jump over onto Esports Assessment Labs, you know, check your reaction time. I saw Halo in the player cams. He was just watching his couple of jabs in there. I was really impressed with his form, actually. So he's obviously been using Esports Assessment Labs to make sure his reaction time's on point, because today he's just winning that little mid matchup and doing a very good job. But let's not delay things any longer. It is time for Champ Select. It's time for Game 4. Boys, are you as excited as Mac is? Probably not, because I'm very excited. Take us in.
Impossible to be as excited as Mac, but I am probably more excited about this particular game of League of Legends than I have been for any other game I've seen so far in the LCO. This one feels like the one with the most weight attached to it, and immediately, Rusty, I see the eyebrows going up here. There's a little bit to touch on, so immediately just rattling quickly through the band. You mentioned the Jinx, well, she's gone. You mentioned the Zaya, she's gone as well. Lilia also gone. So a lot of champions that Pentanet does not want to see, but also still a lot left open, and immediately the picks through coming for Peace. Put a bit of a spanner in the works for Pentanet. We'll see Aladoric over onto Alistar, which means no Tristana Alistar compo.
Maybe a Rel?
The Pentanet boys.
It could just likely be a Rel into it. Also makes you wonder what's going to go with that Alistar, right? Like, it's not a... I think we've only seen it with Trist. So the gauntlet definitely thrown in this draft phase. It's the Jinx and the Zaya taken away, saying, what are you going to play? Probably Kai'Sa. Probably Kai'Sa Alistar as your bot lane duo. But even then, PGG, what they've done as far as their drafting is concerned is they've held their support option. So you can go into 4-5. If you don't pick a support here, you could cop bans, and Peace will have that advantage. I am very much curious now as to what DK will play, because that is a bold choice to prioritize the Victor.
It is. It's also going to mean that Peace here will also select their own mid laner. They don't need to hold on to that any later.
Ban Kai'Sa, right? Like, if you're PGG now, you just ban 80 carries, surely.
What else does Violet want to play? He's got Kai'Sa, obviously Tristana, but that's taken. A bit of Aphelios, a bit of Sivir this season. So if Kai'Sa does get taken away, you'd be looking at maybe a Sivir, maybe an Aphelios, or a total curveball. Seen Jhin a little bit this season, but doesn't seem like a good choice here.
You know what's interesting to me, though, is if they ban Kai'Sa and Olaf, what is Lisa going to play? Lilia, Hecarim, Udyr, he'd have to be the Volibear then, right? Like, that would kind of remove the flex in my mind.
Again, unless he pulls something new out, which we did see a lot yesterday. Not necessarily so much in the jungle position, unless you count the Volibear jungle. But there was 5 new champions picked yesterday in our 2 playoffs games. So you got to think maybe this is the time where teams, if they've been working on anything, do pull it out. I mean, we're looking for potentially something new, I guess, from Lisa. I mean, if he doesn't get the Olaf, doesn't get the volley, I don't think he's actually played anything apart from Udyr or Hecarim.
I mean, he's got other abstract champions with like one game each, right? So like he's got a Mundo, he's got a Jarvan, he's got a Shyvana, I think. Or is that just, I'm just Parbu champions that I'm rattling off.
No, I don't think he's played any of
champions.
those. Yeah, he hasn't played any this season. He's
He
literally
defaults
just played
to, he
Olaf,
can default
Lilia,
to Jarvan for what it's worth. I have seen him play that before. But
Well,
as you can tell, it's just going to be the volley. That makes sense. And the main point I wanted to make was I think they did remove the option of flexing with the way that they drafted.
Well, I like the two bans from Pentanet right here, right? Kai'Sa and Aphelios gone. You kind of need to see a hyper carry coming through here from Aladoric. You've got a big front line. You've got big setup for Orianna. So where's the damage come from? Yes, Orianna can do damage. Yes, the top lane and the jungle can do damage, but I want to see Aladoric on something that he can really just chew through the Cho'Gath, for example.
I like this pick.
Udyr.
I think Braum maybe is a clutch 5th pick here, though, for PGG in terms of draft strength overall.
Poor.
Definitely waiting to see where Violet goes. I mean, that would make much more sense than a Kog'Maw, because it's not a Kog'Maw comp that they have right now. You could maybe Jhin if you feel unsafe, be relying on your tanks getting ahead, but Vayne could work. Risky in lane.
It is, but if you get to the mid game, if you get to the late game, Vayne gets a bit difficult to deal with for this Pentanet composition where the likes of Cho and Udyr really just have to run at you. And yes, they can run really fast. But Vayne has the tumble, she has invisibility, she has condemn, she's got a lot of self-peel tools. And then there's an Alistar there as well, likely sitting on top of her to help out. So, I mean, if Violet has perfect positioning, definitely going to be a workable carry getting into the mid game. And I feel like Vayne's power spikes actually come a little bit earlier now this season than what they used to in seasons past. You know,
it's one item,
with
right?
the item changes. Yeah, once you get the Kraken Slayer, she feels a lot better than she did at one item Vayne last year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Vayne is in a... I think meta-wise, Vayne's in a decent spot. A bit hard to deal with some of the meta champions, but they are suffering a couple of bans here and there. You're looking at a Trist first pick a lot as well in LCO drafting. The big thing for me, though, the Braum is really clutch. Like, playing bot lane now as an Alistar, if you combo, you better be ready to get stunned back. So, Aftershock necessary, I would say, instead of any kind of phase rush builds. Braum... It's not me playing Braum, but I like Hail of Blades Braum because at level 2 you can just win lane. But also you've got the door for Ornn ults. So now your engage tool that is the Ornn is a lot harder to actually execute if Decoy plays properly. So overall, I think that Braum pick helps their composition a lot. But otherwise, you know, if we get to late game, which you have been every game, you do have a Vayne against a Cho'Gath who can go to side lanes against that Cho'Gath as well and just rip Biopanther apart.
It's going to be an interesting one, and it is now time to step up for Pentanet.gg. They are down 2-1 in the series against Peace. And as the team that only lost one game in regular season, they've now lost 2 in this playoffs game, which will put Peace through to the grand final as the first seed, if Peace can confirm it right here and right now. Peace have won every single early game. They've been able to convert 2 of those into wins. But the one thing that interests me here is that the bot lane prio, you know, just by nature feels like it should lean on the side of Pentanet this time, which is where Peace have been finding a lot of their advantages. You think about how that last game sort of snowballed out of control. It was Violet and Aladoric pushing that turret in over and over and over. The Dragon going through early for Lisa, being able to get a lot of work done on the bot side of the map, and the roams from Aladoric as well, when they were available. So now that doesn't really seem to be as much of an option, unless Violet and Aladoric are just going to completely gap Praedyth and Decoy somehow.
I'm going to say it's unsurprising looking at the way these junglers are starting as well, pathing from top to bot side. Are both actually getting top lane leashes. So a lot of this is about being as fast and as healthy as possible to get to bot side and protect that lane. As you mentioned, priority is not a redeeming feature of an Alistar Vayne lane. There is a lot of potential threat of just getting chunked, especially level 1, when you've got a Hail of Blades, Trist, and Braum hitting acute. So you have to respect. It means the push will go the way of PGG. So it's not necessarily just about winning the 2v2. It's about controlling the minions, because now you could potentially force level 2, push in, and then decoy disappears into the jungle with your Udyr to the enemy blue. You know, things like that are theoretically possible. So it's just a bit harder to play the map if you are Lisa.
Well, Lisa going through the jungle right now. Same for Pabu.
I mean, look at this. Like, it's a nice little early ward. It means that he won't be spotted. Even if he just hides and hovers in that bush for an extra couple seconds, you're a bit worried if you're Lisa, right? Like, that's now so much opportunity going against you, and you don't know where Pabu is at this point.
I mean, I know you can't see it on the screen right now, but I've just seen Aladoric go in 2v1 headbutt pole on top of Praedyth and Decoy, and he's actually out-traded them. Now Lisa's walking down. There's no ward. Flash as well from the volley bear to try and get an engage. Violet flashing forward as well, looking for those silver bolts procs, but does he have enough damage? Condemn, not available, but the auto attack is exhaust. Not enough to save Praedyth, nor is heal, nor is flash. And you talk about bot lane prio. Well, it seems like it doesn't matter. It's going to be gifted to them by Lisa, and a nice play from Violet.
Yeah, and you mentioned Aladoric's trade earlier. It definitely helps that you can chunk him out before the trade even starts. Pabu's level 4 to 3 of Lisa, so it is still a decent position for Pabu overall. You can see that he wins the Scuttle Crab trade and is able to now run topside to the top Scuttle and try and contest that one also. Not good for PGG, only good for Pabu. And we have to actually take a second to talk about why. Because Pabu's clear on his Udyr, it's a choice that you have to make, right? If I'm going to full clear, I do not get bear stance till level 4. So he is at level 3 doing the Krug camp, actually on the same screen as his AD carry while Praedyth dies. But he doesn't want to go for that play and stop doing his Krug camp because he needs level 4 to actually influence that. If he went for bear at 3, maybe that's a trade back, you know, and maybe things look a little bit better overall for PGT, but not the way it played.
Oh, well, here's another engage coming through from the bot lane. It's certainly favoring Peace right now. Praedyth has no recourse. He's standing in an entire creep wave. He's on fire. Ignite was put through by Aladoric, and Violet is getting silver bolts procs all over the place. Decoy's shield just doesn't last long enough, and it's 2-0 in the bot lane, Rusty. Unbelievable.
Yeah, Vayne Alistar popping off apparently. Lots of damage coming out of those two. They're snowballing out of their minds, and it's both kills going onto the AD carry as well. It's not actually kill share with Aladoric this time. And Nat Stats talking about those first bloods.
Yeah.
All the way of Violet this time. The perfect person for Peace to snowball a game out, and the worst case scenario for PGG right now.
This further reinforces the question, who's getting the MVP out of this one? If Peace win here, Violet's on track for 10, 15 kills this game. But is Aladoric a big reason why he's got them?
Surely we just give it to the whole ass bot lane. Like, why
I
even
feel like that's what you got to do. Yeah, I agree.
Point?
They're one entity. And then everyone's happy. But
Maybe
it's not there yet.
Them.
Okay, sure. I'll give you that. Dire Straits, perhaps, for Pentanet.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a Noon Quiver Vayne, dude. You would talk like one of the weaknesses that Vayne could have in laning phase is the lack of push, where a Tristana can constantly push you in, right? Can constantly threaten you. Noon Quiver means that you actually clear so incredibly fast with that bonus damage to minions as well. So you can kind of keep up with the Tristana with the item disparity they have.
Well, the wave's slowly pushing down here in bot. So Violet's going to get a bit of a wriggle on here. Looks like should be a nice reset timing, but they don't really have a whole lot of gold here for Peace. So I wonder if they'll just make their way up to Dragon. See what else they can do. Should be a free Dragon. No contest coming through from Pentanet at this point. Pabu's up on the top side of the map. Teleport from Biopanther into top lane. So another Dragon 2-piece.
You know, you could make a takeaway of the playoffs so far that Peace are insanely good into Tristana. That does seem to be a pretty consistent trend so far for them. This game now with a 2-0 AD carry. Jungle difference is still big. You know, we spoke about it. It was the level 4 push from Pabu. Wins the Scuttle battle on both sides. Now has control of the third one as well. Maybe that's the fourth. I wasn't paying too much attention to that. but is sizably far ahead. Like level 6 to 4 in jungle difference, Lisa is struggling.
Oh. And Peace are looking to freeze this wave again. They've stood in the bush, allowed the creeps to aggro onto each other in such a way that the push might just go through. Certainly keeping Pentanet at bay for now, and it's killing a lot of those creeps that, unfortunately for Braideth, he's just not going to be able to pick up. 15 CS disadvantage, now a headbutt back in the direction of Vayne. Decoy is getting knocked at Violet, and yet Peace do not care. Look at that damage. Exhaust even is forced out by Decoy. So is the heal from Braideth. And that's all it takes. A pulverize into a headbutt. Violet gets a nice condemn on the wall, yes, but man, this bot lane is not going to be fun to play for Pentanet right now.
Not at all. Blood's being comprehensively gapped right now. And the thing is, they're just so far behind, they can't step up to hit a minion wave. And it just gives so much freedom for someone like Aladoric on an Alistar. Just look for combos. You know, it's not like a full-on commit to a freeze. It's more that we are going to pull the minion wave deeper into the lane to make it harder for you to have any access to those minions. And maybe it's only 3 CS per wave. That's still half a wave. Maybe it's only 3 CS per wave difference, but if you do overstep, it's also a kill.
Yeah, 3 CS a wave stacks up pretty quickly. Down in the bot lane, we got a dive. Aladoric's very tanky at the moment, but maybe not tanky enough. If Pabu arrives, Lisa might be a little too late. He dives on top of Decoy. Never mind, he's here at the perfect time and can just jump back on out. Violet, he doesn't have any mana, but he doesn't need any mana. In the end, Lisa actually does drop. But now, a teleport down from Appy. It's a bit of a schmozzle down here in the bot lane for Peace. It maybe hasn't gone the way they'd have liked it to.
I mean, Halo doesn't choose to teleport to that fight either. It could have been a bit of a heavier swing, perhaps, with a shockwave available, but he's going to push mid lane out instead. And it means that, realistically, still good for Peace overall. There's a plate in mid lane, there's free farm in mid lane. Decoy goes down, and yes, the Ornn teleports to help, and Bio has a decent time up there, but no teleport advantage going to be gained by this Cho'Gath either. He's just pretty casually trying to farm towards mid-game himself, so still not bad overall for Peace. He'd be very happy with that.
Aladoric has moved his way Herald. Lane swap as Appy goes down to bot, and Peace are being very greedy. They want to take everything. So Rift Herald is now their focus. That's why the lane swaps come through. Looks like they'll get it. Minute and a half for the Dragon as well. So we'd expect to see the bot laners start to move down sooner rather than later.
Yeah, they 100% get this uncontested. I mean, look at the vision that Pentanet have placed. It is incredibly passive vision. It's their blue buff protecting mid lane only from being flanked around the turret. There's a lot of freedom now for Peace to move, a lot of topside freedom as well. They won't be able to dive, they would be spotted, but they can push with complete freedom to do as they please.
Reset time. Good time for it.
Oh, and this is actually not often seen, I will say, Jordan, but usually you'd swap your bot lane to match, right? Because there's just no way that your top lane Cho'Gath wants to 1v2 an Alistar Vayne, but it doesn't seem like they took the bait. I mean, realistically, Peace swapped for the objective of the Rift Herald. And the conscious decision from Pentanet was to say, we are just going to continue to give farm to our Tristana to help try and alleviate how behind he is. Maybe a turret plate here as well as they push it in, and no flipping of the map. No wasting of 30 seconds walking to lane after a 7-second recall. Just trying to be as optimal as possible to catch up.
Halo's resetting quite late. 10 seconds left on that Dragon timer. But he does have teleport available, so should be able to get back. We'll actually opt to go down to bot. Appy gets out of there okay. Now here's the dance. The 5-on-5. Appy being a little bit isolated is going to make it awkward for Peace until he rejoins the group. But the fact that they've got prio over the bot lane means that they can do much the same as what Pentanet is doing in mid. And that's putting pressure on the tower. Rift Herald is certainly going to help. Halo's quite keen and eager to get that tower down. He's going to be able to do so as well. And there's no response so far from Pentanet. They've left Praedyth in mid to just shove that tower, get some plates of his own. Again, putting gold into their ADC.
Aladoric with
Peace
a
get the tower
huge
first.
flank. Just gets spotted out there. Control it in the bush, thankfully for them. You know, we spoke about that defensive vision. Saves the flanks, doesn't save the front-to-back fight.
Got to remember that the Chomp is available here for BioPanther as well. Feast can smite, but it's not required because the fight is on and Pabu is out of the picture right now. 5 on 4 for Peace. And they'll do a good job of just zoning Pentanet away. Yes, BioPanther could get the steal, but he doesn't have the opportunity. And in that meanwhile, the Rift Herald got a second charge down in bot as well. So that's all working perfectly for Peace.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a two-man shockwave on tanks into an on ultimate that was blocked by a Braum door. It just doesn't matter when your AD carries a 3-0 Vayne. The tanks will die. And so they will still be successful. And because it's the jungler, of course, there's no way for Penzanet.gg to contest that dragon. They just have to sacrifice it. There will probably be a decent amount of sacrificing in this game if they want any chance to try to come back into this one. But I will also present the time window that it feels like they have. I'm not saying that Peace definitively outscale them. I don't actually think that's really true. Tristana and Victor have incredibly good late game team fighting. It's just that a Vayne into a Cho'Gath, right, compared to a Tristana into an Ornn, feels like the Vayne will win the race of front-to-back team fighting. So it's a bit harder to execute here for PGG. More flank perhaps reliant, more good teleport reliant. They have to do a little bit extra.
Pentanet's certainly going to have to work hard to get back into this one. About a 3.5k gold deficit at this point in time. I think it was about 4 to 5k last game for Peace at 15 minutes. Remember, we had that 10 minutes of nothing, and then the game really did start to pick up. This one has felt like a fairly slow start as well. Bot lane definitely a little bit different. What's going on here? Pabu over the blast cone. Just doing some ward clearing. Won't result in much.
Nothing doing just yet, just posturing. Again, objective-wise, nothing available on the map, so there is a lot of posturing that'll take place, a lot of fighting for vision, a lot of poking back and forth, just testing the waters. As it stands, it is just going to be AD carries freely farming in mid lane. Top lane is now on the opposite side of the map, down in bottom. And mid laners, who are strong-sided, which is again why that posturing exists, playing in top lane. Teleport for Chaz is a pretty big advantage that they will have to consider here for Peace, and one of the reasons is perhaps why they don't do anything until an objective is up.
All right. Reset time, but they're on top of a ward, so Aladoric is going to pressure. It's another few seconds lost by Pentanet. Kind of forces them to stay here as well. Down in the bot lane, Appy is getting flanked by Pabu right now, so there could be something happening there in just a second. He's taken a lot of damage, down to about half. Still getting chased. I think Appy might die here, to be honest. Pabu, I mean, you can't really escape an Udyr even as an Ornn, or do I lie? Yes, I do. He's just gotten out.
Mana has betrayed Pabu, unfortunately for him. It is a phase rush Udyr, so the sticking power is pretty high, especially with that chilling smite. At the end of the day, there's only so much mana that one can have without a blue buff. And on your screen, you were watching Violet basically 1v2. And it is because they saw Pabu hitting an Ornn for about 30 seconds. So a lot of freedom to be hyper-aggressive there. And that reset cancel by Aladoric and Violet before also stopped the full Kraken Slayer purchase from Praedyth. It was a really good opportunity to cancel those buy timings as Bio.
Well,
Just teleporting.
Halo does definitely dodge the rupture, and so he'll be fine. Chaz is there to greet him. So we do have the Kraken Slayer completed for Praedyth. Took a bit longer than Violet did to get that one online. But right now, for this second, they were at least fairly even until Violet goes back to base and buys himself a Zeal.
just doesn't feel comfortable right now, you know what I mean? Like, at any moment we look at a lane, it just feels like Peace pushing that tempo a little bit further. Like, you can still acknowledge that the farm has been fantastic for Praetor. He's been keeping up as best he can given that early start. They sacrificed a full Rift Herald map flip for that. So he's back in the game a little bit more. Mid lane is hugely behind in terms of turret gold they earned as it stuns on.
Oh, this could be something. Halo's backing into base, but has to now probably teleport into the fight. Call of the Forge God goes absolutely nowhere. But in the end, Rift Herald is what Peace wanted, and it's what they get.
Ooh, that hits.
That hits indeed. Violet could be in trouble. Exhaust on top of him, has to flash out, doesn't have heal available. The bomb's going to go off. Praetor gets the kill, and that's some resets as well. Pabu low on HP. Halo flashes forward, tries to get the kill, but won't be able to. And again it happens. Rusty Peace with the advantage. A mid-game team fight that probably could be better. And Pentanet are back in the game.
Probably could be better. Probably could have been avoided from the side of Peace. They had the Rift Herald. I think they just felt safe. And then a Rupture connects. The fight is on. Violet dies before it even starts. And remember that they both members who have died are the carries of Peace. Both members had shutdowns. So they have just given over extra gold to Pentanet. They have now reduced the gold difference to less than 1,000 or about 1,000 exactly now. And just given those opportunities, again, Peace aren't the perfect team. We've said that. They're good with leads. And Pentanet are so good at finding those small opportunities, finding those small windows and bringing it back that we once again have a game on our hands where it was like a 3-0 Vayne 5 minutes in. And it's a Rupture here. Hits both carries. Silence is onto the Vayne. You've got Praetor able to jump forward. So kill was already going to be secured, actually. And then Halo flashes in after shockwaving 2 tanks to try and kill Pabu. Gets Braum stunned. And just ints. Shutdown goes over to the Victor. You're laughing if you're PGG. You've just been given shutdowns. You've earned them, but you've been given them.
It's not enough to get them the gold advantage. It's certainly not enough to win them this game. Seen Peace looking pretty good over the course of both of the 2 wins they had. So I'm a little less worried now than I would have been at this point in the game at game 2, if that makes sense. You know, game 2, I see Pentanet get that fight. I think, oh, okay, here we go. It's happening again. But Peace sort of staved that off in the last 2 maps. So maybe they can do so again. Looking for a mid-tower. Won't quite be given it. Violet cops a Braum Q, but there's no follow-up, so no stun.
Definitely doesn't seem like the mental of PGG is shot at any means. You've got Praetor and Violet having emote wars and Pabu dancing instead of resetting. He's enjoying himself. That really does go to show how this game starts to feel, right? Like, we've said it. It does feel like Peace was starting to run ahead with this game. It feels like their composition excels quite well in team fighting with what they have. But PGG bring it back, suddenly they're just feeling themselves again. And that calm, measured play that you get from Pentanet.gg does open you up to errors.
Well, Rupture can definitely be a game-changing ability if Biopanther can hit some good ones like that. Praetor's got a kill, so he's up to 2. Has finished his second item, the Phantom Dancer. Pound for pound. The ADCs looking about as strong as one another. In fact, if we look at the gold, Praetor's got a lead.
Whoa.
He has to jump out. We'll hold that thought for a second. Oof. We're all okay. But yeah, a bit of a gold lead actually for Praetor. Courtesy of some shutdowns, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, mid-gap, like, in terms of gold, has been pretty big. Was brought back a little bit. Be happy about that one. They're going to do some damage to this Herald. Maybe they stop it completely.
They do.
Yeah, they're good. Doesn't even consider charging. Nice little deterrent there. And I do think we are now getting to a point in this game where we are going to team fights, where Peace have decided, maybe through some mistakes, but they've given the opportunity to challenge Pentanet front to back, team fighting style, one of the best team fighting teams in our league, to make their way into the finals. Big
Couldn't
call.
ask for a better game 4. Minute and a half might be how long it's going to take us to get there, Rusty. That's when Dragon spawns. So again, we'll probably just see a slowdown in the game until that point. Peace will be very happy if they can get the mid tower before then, though. Will aid them in pushing the mid wave, and that in turn will aid them in getting control around the Dragon Pit. So they do pick up that important objective. And if there was ever a reset time, it's now.
They do Baron so quick, though. Like, if I was PGG, my one concern is that I just stop thinking about Baron for 15 seconds. They had a good blue trinket on it just then. Happy does clear it, but a Vayne with Kraken Slayer, I think it's a Leandri's Ori as well. Like, they will sprint, they will speed run the Baron.
Can happen, where you just lose vision for 30 seconds and then you wonder, where are they all? And then the Baron notification pops up on your screen, and suddenly you know. But all eyes are turned towards the Dragon right now. We've got a couple of wards on the Baron. No team interested in it at the moment. Teleport is there for BioPanther. Happy sort of walking down. Maybe doesn't have to use the teleport just yet. Wave was favoring him.
Alidoric has his flash available.
Oh, look for the engage. He's going to get stunned up now. Does have Unbreakable Will. Survives for a long time. He gets knocked out. He gets knocked to safety by Praetor's ultimate. Decoy's low as well. Okay, so here's the gamble. Peace have called Pentanet's bluff. They've said, you can have the Dragon. We're going to take Baron. But
They think they do it fast enough. Oh, I mean, they do it so exceptionally quick. Is it fast enough? We will see. They've left Praetor on the pit. They've actually shown their jungler mid. So Peace will choose to disengage, and rightly so. Maybe they didn't know that Praetor would still be doing that one. So it is just the free objective secured. The second Mountain Dragon of the Mountain Soul in this game going the way of PGG. That combo, that was a series of very odd events, I will say. It was a headbutt pole, like you had the true flash available for Alidoric, not the Hex flash. They look to do that with an immediate shockwave combo onto Praetor, who has consistently shown he can buffer those jumps on headbutt pole combos. So that misses. And then Praetor says, you know what, I'm feeling charitable today. You can live. And ults them away.
There might have been a heal coming through from Violet that saved Alidoric's life. It is on cooldown recently, so I can only imagine that's where it did get used. Lisa and Pabu just happy to clear each other's wards right next to each other. Looks like Lisa will win this time. Alidoric looking for another engage, actually forcing the flash out of Decoy.
Yeah, that was really good. It was the dissonance from the Orianna ball as well that actually helped him to close the gap, to find that in a relatively short order.
Back on Baron. Chaz is going back to base. He's got teleport available, granted, so there is that for Pentanet, but he's going to have to be quick. Only just now starting to channel. Be another few seconds and Peace decide they want to get out. Praetor. Rocket jumps forward and towards an Alistar. He's feeling confident.
Yeah, Alidoric was very wide flank. If the fight was in the river, he was in a good position, but because it moves, he was out of position. Does reset, boots of mobility there, so he'll be okay. If Praetor's got an auto on, remember that was a red buff Tristana that'll be able to chase you down. We are just going to get the disengage, but like we've highlighted, you have to respect the Baron push if you're Pentanet. And they're showing time and again their willingness to hit it and see what happens. You cannot make a single error in judgment on if they're doing it or not, or the Baron could be gone.
"25 minutes in, we've only got 7 kills. Game has definitely slowed down more and more the further we've gotten into this series. It's like both teams are kind of settling into their rhythm. Few mistakes being made early game, but overall, mostly good, solid games.
Praetor has a shutdown in the terms of amount of gold he's been given in this one, so what was a bot gap is now pretty much even. Mid, similar story actually there as well. Chaz has been farming up a storm. Overall, it does feel like we are just at a dead even game state, and you couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, this one can definitely ramp up. See some fireworks. Keeping our eyes on Violet, Praetor. Chaz looking good at the moment, 1-0-1, farming up quite substantially as well, so he'll start to become a factor soon on that Victor, but again, Peace look toward the Baron. They're really just trying to bait a fight, it feels like, but now Baron's kind of low and they're wondering, do we stay on it? No. But opportunity opens up for Pabu.
Wait, they're hitting the Baron now. Peace have to respect this.
Pabu's on the wrong side of the Baron pit, but he does have flash. Well, they know now. In the end, it's going to be the eat, the chomp, the feast from BioPanther. And 1,000 damage smite is better than whatever Pabu can pull out at this point, so that's fair enough. Pentanet get a free Baron.
Yeah, they could have potentially got Lisa with it as well, right? Has to flash himself out to safety. Ult's in there just to try and get the steal, but you're never going to beat a Cho'Gath. And Pentanet see the Baron attempt, the third one, I believe, this game, and they say, we'll push you away, and they don't let it fully reset. It sticks it around, I think, 7k health. They hit it themselves, and just easy free Baron. You've got the rest of Peace routed, looking to do Krugs maybe, just maybe not even expecting them to do it, and by the time they realize, all but gone.
Board clearing around the Dragon Pit again because that objective is coming up shortly. 40 seconds. Appy's pushing the top lane in. Someone's going to have to go and match him. BioPanther has Telly, but he's in mid. Chaz doesn't yet have teleport available, but it'll be coming off cooldown in just a second. 11 seconds, in fact. Well, Pentanet not too concerned about that top wave. See what Aladoric does here.
Yeah, and Peace aren't too concerned about the Baron existing yet either. There's a teleport in mid lane right now. They are looking to stay mid. We've got the 5v5 set up, ready to go. Dragon, the third of the game for each of these teams if they look towards it. Baron's not doing a whole lot right now, you know. They are still being staunched by Peace. They're still dead even.
Here comes Aladoric. Does pop the chem tank, but no one can get into the pit quickly enough. Still, Peace might have found a winnable fight. Big knock-up coming through,
Chaz.
at least from BioPanther, that slows them down, but in the end, 4v5 right now, and Violet feels confident. He feels like he can 1v4. Maybe it's a mistake, maybe it's not. Decides to chase down with the rest of his team as he turns back onto the Braum. And it's a 2-for-1 overall. Aladoric dies, but so does BioPanther and Decoy. Dragon for Pentanet, though. I'm sure they're probably pretty happy with that trade overall.
Yeah, you'd still call that a win. Puts them on soul point, definitely gives them an extra, you could say win condition, I suppose. It's not going to be the be-all, end-all soul, but they have that in their grasp. At the end of the day, you are seeing a lot of damage come from Violet. The combos aren't connecting perfectly from Peace at all. But Pentanet sacrificed a bit of positioning to secure the Drake and are punished for it. Still a lot of damage from Chaz, a lot of damage from Praedyth, and they weren't really able to take them down. The key thing here, though, is that flashes are missing left, right, and center on Pentanet. Chaz, Praedyth, both missing it. Pabu's ability to get onto a Vayne is pretty much dependent on that. That's gone as well, where Violet and Halo have their respective flashes, and the auxiliary members that don't. So I would prefer to be Peace if I was team fighting.
Playmaking ability is definitely there, especially when you're 4-1 and 2 on Vayne. I mean, I hate to keep going back to it, but this is going to have to be the Violet show again for Peace. For Pentanet, at least it feels like they've got options. Chaz and Praedyth getting online. Can't believe Pabu's only got 1 assist, but it's just one of those games where you don't want to be an Udyr, really. Can't get anywhere, can't get anything done.
Pop quiz, do you know the name of Ornn's item upgrade for Vayne?
Absolutely not.
I didn't think you would. It's called Wormfall and Sacrifice.
Oh, I was going to try. I was so close. I was going to say Worm Slayer. But
were you?
Yeah, I was actually.
I'll give you that. You got to think of like what's bigger than a Kraken. I couldn't think of anything, so I Googled it.
No, yeah, ironically, I actually did sort of look that up at one point. Can't remember why, but I remembered the worm bit at least.
What about the mid lane one then?
No,
Leandri's Lament.
Lament would never have got that.
No,
Look, they changed it from Torment to Anguish, so it's already hard enough to remember.
Yeah.
So we'll just go with that for now.
Moral of the story is that all item upgrades are completed as a roundabout way to get to my point, but starting to come across, and again, major factor when you look at champion scaling. It gives you like an extra, I believe, roughly 1,000 gold value, but for both of those items. I think it's 1,100 for the Kraken, and around 1,100 to 1,000 for the Leandris as well. So extra money into those pockets. It's not just a 4-1 Vayne with a shutdown ready to go. There's 4-1 and some change.
Yeah, a little bit more scary now for sure. It's always good when you have an Ornn that's going to give you the ornaments as opposed to taking them all for himself. 52.5k gold for Pentanet, and the same but 0.2k for Peace, so very, very close on both sides of the rift right now. 1 minute and 26 seconds left for the Mountain Drake, and that feels like it could play a massive, massive part. Can you imagine a Cho'Gath later on in this game if he's got four Mountain Drakes and the Soul? That's going to be unreasonable.
Yeah, 24% bonus resistances as well as the shield is quite annoying to get through, and maybe a compensation. Appy could be caught here.
Could be, but he is an Ornn, so getting caught on Ornn generally means a very slow walk away and eventual survival.
Yeah, just gets the teleport out of Halo realistically. One thing I was going to say though, if you remember back to that last fight at the Dragon, it was Aladoric actually flash engaging onto Biopanther, headbutting a Cho'Gath into the team. And while you could normally say maybe that's a sin, it isn't when you've got a Kraken Slayer Vayne on your team. One of the best ways that Peace can play their team fights is front to back. That's what they would want here.
They might be trying to go for it again, Baron this time, but look where Pabu is. He's standing on top of the blast cone, waiting for the steal. Biopanther has flash available, but he'll be locked down. Now the fight begins in earnest. Lisa knocked low, but you've got to keep your eyes on Violet. If he can get damage out in the fight, it's winnable for Peace. Unfortunately, not being given that opportunity because everyone is dead. Front to back hasn't worked this time, Rusty.
No, it hasn't worked at all. They looked for the opportunity, but you've got Decoy standing and delivering. You can't hit the Ornn Horn ever to actually lock down time and space for Violet to deal damage. Halo has not found his mark on this Orianna thus far, and now you've got the second Baron buff of the game going the way of Pentanet. You've also got the Mountain Soul theirs for the taking as they would like. And try as Peace want to get those front to backs. They hit the Baron for the purpose of turning. Doesn't go their way.
So they get Baron, they'll get Dragon Soul as well, and the game gets infinitely harder for Peace. So much damage and focus went into the Cho'Gath early on in the piece, and it wasn't a bad knockup from Aladoric, but just keep your eye on Praetor and Chaz in that replay.
Oh, meanwhile.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Inhibitor goes down, Dragon goes down.
They could just end.
Yeah, I suppose that's also a factor. Something to think about. 25 seconds for Aladoric, 33 for Appy. And the attention turns to a shockwave. Praetor is locked up. Not quite enough damage from Lisa. And Praetor will survive on the skin of his teeth. But that might well be the death sentence for Peace in game number 4. Pentanet turn onto the Nexus, and they'll get rid of it as well. 2 apiece. And we're heading to game 5. Pentanet are not done yet.
Not at all. We have definitely had a series on our hands. The fact that we're going to game 5, the fact that every single game has felt like it could go either direction. This has been an absolute blinder of a series, a blinder of a best of 5. And we said it at the start of the day. It could well be the finals preview. And I think we're getting every single version of that possible right now.
Yeah, this is exactly what we would have wanted. We've seen peak performance from all the Peace players. We've seen the performances from Pentanet. I almost feel like we haven't actually seen peak performance yet from Pentanet, if I'm going to be honest. Maybe outside of game 1, they looked pretty good there. But I feel like there's something left in the tank for both of these teams, if I'm going to be honest. And
yeah,
going into game 5, this is where you sort of pull out all the stops. If there is anything left, you got to throw it in.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, I think we also should take into account that Peace are definitely performing up from what we've seen of them, right? So we know that Pentanet do have a weaker early game. That has been stated through the entire season. So maybe we're just seeing both of these teams playing closer to their true form right now because we haven't often seen PGG pushed.
All right, let's see what Mac thinks. He knows everything there is to know about League of Legends, so it'll be good to get his opinion and 2 cents on this one. So, Mac, how are you feeling now? Obviously, you had the chance of getting that prediction correct that game, but Peace have let you down.
Man, I am so happy with how this game has gone. I can't believe we're going to a 5th map. And I also can't believe how slow these last 2 games have been. You can see both teams are so cautious. They don't want to put that foot wrong. They don't want to be caught out of position. and it's just led to these really monotonous games, you know, standoffs for these objectives, and then, you know, every now and then someone might die, and at that point the other team goes, well, okay, well, we don't want to, we'll just cut our losses. And then we run away, hope that there is a mistake at some point, you know, and this may just be one of those mistakes. Violet getting caught off, thinking he was a little bit bigger than what he was. Halo, I think, flashes in to try to secure a kill, and he'll go down as well. And Pabu's so low, so lucky to be alive. So there's the what I would call the turning point in the game when things started to go right for Pentanet in Game 4 here. And there you go. You know, that's not the first time either. Halo, he keeps on firing up and just throwing fists up at the camera.
He just mid-game muzz. That's how you get back into it mentally, hey?
Yeah, that's the secret. Bit of a shadow box. He was doing a lot of boxing in mid as well, so not necessarily losing mid there. He had a very good performance to kick things off. You can see even right up until the end, it was looking pretty good in terms of CS. He did go down a few times. And that was something I was interested about as well, is just in terms of objective control. Picking that Cho'Gath just seemed to be key. I thought they would have used the ultimate earlier, trying to get a bit more presence on the objectives, but it wasn't until that Baron they finally managed to steal. You mentioned, oh, Pabu's on the wrong side of the wall. What's going on? But then, you know, obviously Cho'Gath's there. You know, 1,000 damage smite for free. You know, better than an actual smite at that point. I think Pabu at that stage in the game was only level 12, so it would have been, what, like a 700 damage smite. So, you know, you can combine the two. But look, very good performance. And Pentanet now 2-2. We're going all the way. How's your throat going, Jordan?
Struggling, but I'm told I might have time to make a cup of tea here, so I'm looking forward to that. Going to need to suck it down pretty quickly because, man, this is going to be a big final game, I think, and looking forward to potentially not being able to talk tomorrow. Hopefully, Mac, you'll be ready to cover for me on that broadcast that will not be named.
Oh, it's all right. Well, it's the one opportunity I do get to do some play-by-play, so you better believe I'll be unleashing for everyone over on the unnamed broadcast. You know, if you know, you know. Anyway, it's time for a break. Jordan, go suck down that cuppa, and we'll see how your throat is after the break. Ladies and gents, Game Bloody 5 coming up. Get ready to be entertained.
Has Flash available, but he'll be locked down. Now the fight begins in earnest. Lisa knocked low, but you've got to keep your eyes on Violet. If he can get damage out in the fight, it's winnable for Peace. Unfortunately, not being given that opportunity because... And the attention turns.